Welcome to another edition of WOPTalk. I'm Joey, accompanied by my good friend Diego.
Hey Joey, how are you? Really,
Hey Diego, how are you?
good to see you back from your trip, job related, of course. I want to show you what Joey had the good fortune to go to the game and the Islanders. Game 4 was it? Islanders Pittsburgh, that famous 6-4 win, and he brought me back the official puck. I'd like to tell you that it was the puck that won the game for the Islanders. It wasn't. It turned out to be the puck that the Islanders lost against last night. I don't know how Joey got a hold of it. Not true at all. Not true at all. But I want you to get a look at this puck. You know that this is the official puck, and in the back of it you got the two logos: the Pittsburgh Penguins, New York Islanders, and in the front you have the NHL logo. And here's the interesting part for all you folks that are worried about French disappearing in the world. It's written. Official licensed product, and then, believe it or not, at the bottom it's written produit licence officielle. That sounds French to me, but that's another show for another time.
That's right, it is.
Fucking monkeys, if you ask me.
And now for our feature presentation.
So Joey, let's catch up. The last time we recorded, we didn't put it up yet for other reasons. But we were talking about the pregame show before the Habs and the Ottawa Senators were playing that night. That was the infamous game in Ottawa where we just got creamed, and the whole bench clearing almost situation with all kinds of fights at the end of the game.
It was a 6-1 loss by the Habs.
And it was a very bad night for everybody, including myself and Joey. Things got out of hand. Two friends shouldn't have to go through that, but we blame the Ottawa Senators for that one. Maybe a little bit more Carey Price, but anyways,
we get very emotional, but nonetheless, we'll keep it at that.
We're just good hockey fans that really take it at heart. What do you think of that game, Joey?
It still leaves a very bitter taste in my mouth.
You know, I have to agree with you, Joey. We can talk about all the playoffs and every single team and what they're doing, what they're not doing. Today being Sunday, the 12th of May, we just saw Toronto defeat Boston, and what's turning out to be a comeback series for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Very impressive.
And let's be honest, as whether you're a Leafs fan or not, and whether you have some sort of animosity towards them or not, you have to give credit to that organization for putting a great club on the ice that has changed their attitude. And,
yep.
And they've put the pieces to the puzzle together to allow themselves to be productive and to become winners once again. And let's face it, 47 years that they haven't seen a real good team in that city, and they're finally seeing a really good competitive team that's beginning to resemble one of a team that's going to be contending in the future.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving forward, if we were to go back just simply for the Habs, we're not going to go game by game because it's at this point it's over and done with. But my curiosity to you, Joey, is what do you think? What's your take on the playoffs with the Habs? I mean, take away the disappointment, but more importantly, what's the disappointment for you?
I think we discussed this before the show, but my biggest disappointment, and I've seen it in other series as well, my biggest disappointment is if we're going to go individually, first thing of all, my biggest disappointment is still, and it will always be, I think, Carey Price. Carey Price, I think, was a big disappointment for me. But one I think that I carry even more closer to my heart is the fact that I think the refs took over this series. You know, there were a lot of bad calls against Montreal, a lot of calls that shouldn't have been calls. And it's leaving a very bitter taste in my mouth. And seeing a game firsthand in Long Island, New York.
Did you see that? Did you see the referees influence that game?
Absolutely. You can't. The Islanders couldn't even touch Crosby, Malkin, or Iginla. The minute they would get touched, they would get called for something. And you had fans in the back. I mean, I had pretty good seats. There were fans behind me that were yelling, and you heard them, and I was feeling for them because I was feeling the same thing for the Canadiens. You heard them yelling stuff like, "That's right, let's keep let's keep Bettman's team intact. Let's not touch Bettman's team. Don't touch those, don't touch those key players. Don't touch those superstars because that's what Bettman wants. And to some degree, I'm not going to applaud them, but I can understand why they're saying that.
I disagree with you in that one. I don't understand that. And there's only one reason I don't understand it. Listen, each team has the choice to invest and not to invest. And each team is responsible for their own fiscal responsibility.
Right.
But at the same time, you take the Islanders who have not made the Stanley Cup playoffs in
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
Here's an organization that in the 80s won 4 in a row and set the standard, equaling, exactly what the Habs were doing prior to them.
Right, in the 70s, yeah.
And they lost themselves. The team grew too old. Bill Torrey didn't decide to stick around to rebuild that team. And they've gone through their hardships. And here's Bettman talking about protecting the markets. And you take vis-a-vis the example, the Phoenix Coyotes. And we seem to always go back there. But then there's Columbus that needs protection. There's Nashville that needs protection. Dallas and so forth. There's so many teams that need protection. And to insist that a powerhouse, for now anyways, they look like a powerhouse.
They do.
And that they have to go into the finals because of ratings on TV. That's fine. We understand. But at the end of the day, the problem is always going to end up with one and one only. What happens to the rest of the league? Is the NHL going to take that chance of becoming an MLB, Major League Baseball, where you have 2-3 teams competing every year for the World Series, be it the Yankees, the Red Sox, and now the third team is the wild card. It could be, for a while it was the Atlanta.
It could be St. Louis. It could whoever, right?
So. Exactly, and so. Or do we want an NFL-type league where on any given Sunday, as the expression goes, you're going to win or lose, and on any given Sunday, one team is going to win more than the other? You know what I mean? It's just, so more equilibrium. You take Barclays Soccer League in the Premier League, the English, in the English League. Man U is Man U, but on any given Sunday or Wednesday or Monday night the Man U plays, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win because every team can bring in, and play
a competitive
their game.
team, right?
But I mean, okay, having said that, that's what you saw. And this is what I had called into, not that I want to give a shameless plug to TSN, they don't need it, but TSN 690 here in Montreal, and I think they deserve it. They work hard.
On the Tony Marinaro show?
Tony Marinaro show in the morning. And I called in and I was telling Tony, I said, I'm 51 years old and I've been watching this game since I was 10 years old. And I've never, ever seen, in all those years, I've seen bad calls. That's part of human nature of this game. And back then you had one referee with 2 linesmen. So the bad calls were sometimes really bad calls. But at the same time, they were less frequent than they are these days.
Yeah.
And I never seen referees literally influencing the game and deciding who was going to win, who was going to lose.
Right.
And there's no way anyone will convince me that the Canadian Senators series, that wasn't the case. I think Montreal, 4 out of the 5 games, outplayed, outskilled the Ottawa Senators. But I don't think that to me is part of the reason. But I think the bigger part of the reason to all of this is where preparation comes into play, conditioning and preparation. And I have to, in my very humble opinion, I don't think Teddy did his job. I don't think he did his homework. And I think the fact that thank you. We got just dropped arrows, air bubbles. I'm fat enough as it is, and I got enough gas in me as it is. I don't need more gas in me. So I don't think.
So your part of your contribution to this failure is Michel Therrien not preparing the team.
Okay, take the first game. Lars Eller takes that bad hit, controversial hit. It'll never be proven whether it was purpose or not. The NHL gave a 2-game suspension because there was a belief that there was a sort of purpose to that.
There was an intent to.
There was an intent to that hit. All right. So the NHL reacted not because we're a Habs fan or I'm a Habs fan or anything. They reacted accordingly. That was clearly an intent to hurt, or at least it showed that there was an intent to hurt. So they reacted to it. McLean after the game, calling out and literally saying that number 61 made a very bad pass, a suicidal pass to number 81, and therefore Therrien calls him out as being disrespectful to the fact that he couldn't even mention their names. Okay, you said it. It's done. Move on. The next game, there's another thing that comes along, and Montreal Canadiens win, and Therrien has to bring it up again. And by the way, number 61's name is Ralphie Diaz. Listen, it got into his psyche.
Yeah. By the way, I didn't see it because that night that they got eliminated, when Montreal got eliminated, was Tuesday night, right? Against the Ottawa Senators? Yes.
Was it Tuesday night? I believe it was, yeah.
Was it? No, Thursday night.
Thursday night.
Sorry. Okay. So did Therrien shake hands with the...
My understanding was that they didn't.
Because I didn't see it.
My understanding was that they didn't. Now, I didn't see it because I walked out. It was the first time in my life that I watched the playoffs, and I did not stick around to see
the handshake.
I just didn't want to see it because in my books, it was non-merit. There was a non-merit to this ending. And I think that there's a lot of hockey fans out there, regardless of whether you're a Leafs fan, Bruins fan, whatnot. Well, maybe a Bruins fan, but I mean, if you're an honest hockey fan,
right.
I don't think anybody saw any justification in all of that. There was just too many weird calls that were made during the series. But what disappointed me is how McLean got into Therrien's head.
Yeah,
he got into his head, and Therrien, as they say in French, un vrai brochet. He bought into it, and he got caught into it, and every game was about that.
Yeah.
Right?
It looked like every game you had to justify, like why?
You're talking about the icing that was missed. You're talking about the face-off on the left side instead of the right side. You're talking about...
the kicking motion.
The kicking this and that. And listen, but your players are taking a beating. Your players are bruised. We have an injury list from here to India. And they're not small injuries. We're talking about this. Pacioretty played with a dislocated shoulder. Brandon Press at the end had a dislocated rib. Not to mention Lars Eller, of course, wasn't there. Brian Jonta, for a second year in a row, a tricep problem and torn and whatever.
And
he was
again.
gone. And you got other things to worry about.
Yeah.
And the best thing that you were able to focus on was the refereeing this and the coach that. I don't agree with the fact that Prost was allowed to call McLean a bug-eyed fat walrus. I don't agree with that. For the mere reason of there's got to be a limit of respect over here. I mean, he's a coach. I don't care whether you like the way he coaches. I don't care if you understand his reasoning or you like his reasoning behind it. He is a coach of another team.
You think they do it for rating? I think they do it for ratings.
But you know what? I don't think Press did it for ratings. And I'll tell you what, the Montreal Canadiens don't need to pull that sort of stuff up, or as we say, fucking shit, okay, to put it out there, okay, to get ratings. If Montreal Canadiens don't get ratings on TV, there is a serious problem with hockey in Montreal. It's as simple as that. And the Montreal Canadiens don't need to pull that out to get ratings across Canada. I mean, there's hockey fans that go for the Montreal Canadiens throughout this great nation of ours. Okay, outside of Quebec, great nation of theirs. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, we're not going to get
the
into
Diego report coming soon. Stay tuned to WOPTalk.
That's my opinion. I think Therrien just did not prepare his team. Plain and simple. He made the gravest error of them all is that you saw it in the first game. We were talking to Robert while you were away. We were just discussing it, and I said, Robert, in that first game, a 5-minute major, we got to score 1 goal, and then we didn't score any other goals, and Ottawa came back and won this game.
Yeah.
And you want to blame Price? Okay, let's blame Price. In the last game where we got eliminated, hold on a second.
Yeah.
We blame Price, we'll blame Price. And I've been a critic where I said trade Price as well.
Yeah.
But in that last game, that we lost, that we got eliminated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Pedrino...
With Cipriano Budaggi.
he didn't play any better.
Did he show up to play? Because I didn't see him play.
I saw the highlights.
I didn't see him play. He didn't make one save that said, I'm keeping you guys in the game. So, I mean, you look at Price. Price would have probably lost that game, yeah. We would have never gone clobbered 6-1. Because by that time there, the one thing that happened the last 3 games, the Montreal deserved to win every single game. Physically, they played well. Skillfully, they played well. Talently, they played well. Intelligently, they played well. They stuck to the game plan. But they wasn't playoff mode.
Yeah.
There was just something missing with the Habs this year. And it's not
and
my
you know what
opinion.
kind of makes me wonder, right? Is they ended up second place, in the and then let's hold on, make me finish, right?
Yeah, absolutely, because I do talk a lot. I'm sorry.
So they ended up second place in the conference from 15th.
I'm smoking. I don't give a shit. Go on.
From 15th last year, they ended up second place. But you know what kind of makes me wonder, right? Is you look at this team, right? And I'm looking at and make me explain, right? Because I'm trying to get to something here. So Second place.
Fucking preamble. Go on.
Second place after 48 games, and you look at the team, the way they went out in the playoffs. Put that aside now, and you look at the first place team, the Pittsburgh Penguins, playing not a scrappy team, playing, yes, the New York Islanders, who fucking worked their ass off, saying, how does Montreal end up in second? Montreal didn't look like a second place finisher in that conference the way they got booted out of the playoffs.
Okay. So go back to the last 7-8 games of the season, where Montreal all of a sudden hit that dry spot, and we lost more than we won.
Mm-hmm.
At that same point, I think we also discussed in prior show that the Boston Bruins were playing equally as weak as the Montreal Canadiens were.
Right.
And that was the only reason we finished second place.
Because I think if there had been an 82-game season, do you think Montreal would have ended up in second place?
I don't think so.
Me too, I don't think so. That's what I'm trying to say.
But hold on a second. We digress on this one. I'll tell you why we digress. Here are the facts. It wasn't an 82-game season. We can't hypothesize on an 82-game season. It was a 48-game season. And Montreal for 37 games, 36 games, really played more than just deserving.
Yes.
More than deserving of the second place. Okay. And in fact, at one point, they looked almost as though they could have probably taken first place too.
You're right.
Okay.
But it ends there. But
it ends there. But the thing is, if you mention the Islanders. We looked at the Islanders, and the Islanders consistently throughout the whole season, 48 games albeit, but throughout the whole season, they played, and they played good hockey.
But, hold on. But you look at the Islanders, and where they started off 12th in the conference, and slowly grind their way up. Right? So, and eventually finished, they were hovering between 7 and 8, and you would expect a team like that to finish in 7 and 8, the way they play. Montreal probably plays not the same style. But if you take the two teams, the Islanders and Montreal, probably play equivalent hockey, not the same style. Yet Montreal finishes second and the Islanders finish eighth. To me, it didn't make sense.
Okay.
You know, because an 82-game season, I really thought that if this season would have gone 82 games, honestly, Montreal would have been lucky to finish, and I'm being conservative here, maybe 5th or 6th. At the most.
I'm going to disagree with that. If it was an 82-game season, Montreal would have probably finished higher up. And keep in mind on something. Here's a question I ask for you. Toronto is not making a series of this, and they've gone now they tied the series 3-3 with Boston.
Yep.
Up until 2 games ago, they were down 3-1.
Yep.
Up until Friday night. Okay? Would Toronto have finished in 5th? If you take the injuries you take the injuries away from Ottawa, then Ottawa was an injury-riddled season all season long.
They probably wouldn't have finished in 7th.
Exactly.
Yes.
So my point I'm trying to make is that it's a 48-game season.
Right. It was shortened.
But if I talk about the Montreal Canadiens, then I'm going to ask you this question. Why is it so hard to ask this question and then honestly give an answer to it? That is to say, Michel Therrien, is it possible that he lost his dressing room somewhere down the line?
Maybe.
Because the last 9 games were not representative of what they did in the first 41 games.
Right.
Or 37 games, whatever it was.
I totally agree. I agree with that.
And so you have to ask yourself that question. When you look at the way they played in the playoffs, the frustration level that they went through in the playoffs, there were a couple of things that was happening. This is why I keep on pointing at Michel Therrien. Here's the thing as a coach, in my belief, as I understand it, that a coach should be when it comes to any team sport. You are the leader of that team. You are the spokesperson. You are the father of that team, if that's the best way you can put it. It seems as though the players bought into what Therrien was complaining about, and they were frustrated from a management perspective, and the players found themselves excuses for not winning the game either.
Correct.
They're saying, Piqué Subban,
Yes.
prior to the last game they played, said, we're going to win. We're a better team than them. We played better than them. You're saying exactly what Teddy has been saying, but you're not showing any justification to it. You're just saying this is what it was.
Right.
And so I think that this is where I come along and say, excuse me, you got three coaches behind the bench. You got management upstairs. And the best that you can do as to why you lost, you know what, let's be honest. And the honesty of this is this. McLean understood what had to be done to beat the Montreal Canadiens. McLean understood what it was to walk into a playoff series. McLean understood what it's going to take to win, and McLean did exactly that.
Yeah.
Terrien did not. And there's got to be a reason why he got fired from the Montreal Canadiens the first time around, why he got fired from the Pittsburgh Penguins a month and a half before the playoff season began, that ultimately led to a Stanley Cup victory for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and he was not the coach of it. And there's got to be a question mark on Michel Terrien. And you know what? This is not a political game that we're playing anymore.
No.
Because if you're going to tell me that there's no way you can touch him because he speaks French, well, then you know what? This whole discussion becomes mute.
So look at the whole picture, right?
Right.
So they finished 15th last year, second this year. Honestly, you think a guy like Bergevin is going to say, "Yeah, Terrien, what a season that you had this year, we're going to fire you after the season"?
No, of course not.
Exactly. So,
but hold on a second. All executives, because that's what Terrien is. He's an executive. At the end of the day, if you take this as a business principal company,
yeah,
ABC Corp, and you're an executive, be it sales division, operational manager, basically is what he is. At the end of the day,
you do a turnaround like that.
Do you not have the right to go scold your operational manager for operations carrying deficiencies in their production line?
Maybe he did, though. Who knows?
We don't know that.
We don't know that.
We don't know. But based on the way he behaved till the very last game, the very last second, you saw his face red. You saw the frustration in him. All he had to do, at the end of it all, when asked these questions, say, my team put up the fight that was asked of them to put up, gutsy, courageous, all that good stuff, and at the end of the day, the better team won.
Yeah.
The better team won. End of story. I predicted Ottawa in 6. I saw the trend since 1995. The Montreal Canadiens have never performed better than that against the Ottawa Senators. The killers on the Ottawa Senators have always been Neil, Alfredson, and Spezza. Spezza wasn't there, but Neil and Alfredson were there. You're going to tell me Anderson was a better goaltender than Carey Price?
Absolutely, he was.
The answer was yes, but the answer was also, where was the big guys in front of the net?
Yeah,
None.
I know.
And you can't tell me that we don't have bodies that we could put in front of the net. Moen has no business going into the corner. If Gallagher's got the puck, Moen should be in front of the net and looking at the defenseman saying, okay, guys, push me out. And Moen is not as strong as that. Pacioretty, he's hurt. So why are you playing him for? It's almost as though Terrien honestly believed we're going to win the cup this year. And that was the biggest mistake a coach can make.
Yeah, well.
Bergevin, you saw his expression. Bergevin was cold iced on his expression. You don't know whether he was upset. You don't know whether he came along and said, well, guys, listen. I mean, at the end of the day, we finished 15th last year.
Second
this year.
It was, for them, it was
a successful season for the Montreal
That's what I'm trying to
Canadiens.
say. And at the end of the day, it was a successful season.
Whether they merited second place or not does not matter. They still overplayed what they did last year.
Okay, now I want to bring up another topic because this is what I know. Again, I have it here, Diego, and it's gargling in my throat. Carey Price, it's 5 years. Okay, when he first came in, okay, he's young. Give him time. He doesn't have experience. Give him time to adjust to the Montreal Canadiens, one of the biggest teams in the leagues, the biggest pressure. He's won one playoff series for us. Listen. He's, what is he, 24, 25?
24, I believe it
is. Okay,
so
you know what? At some point, you gotta. You're a big goaltender, or at least they're trying to make you into a big goaltender.
Play like a big goaltender.
The league has made you it's 3 times he gets elected to the All-Star team. You're considered one of the biggest goalies. You know what? Then play like one. They gave you a big contract.
Okay.
Play like one. So, try to take the team yourself on your shoulders and say, guys, we're going to fucking win this one.
So here's the question then. I truly believe that whatever offseason game plan Bergevin had prior to the last 9 games of the season, moving into the playoffs and seeing the results of the playoffs. Listen, had we lost in 7 games and had we lost every game by 1 goal where we were competitive, that led us to the demise that
we probably wouldn't be saying.
The ultimate thing would have been for Bergevin, well, we are on track to where I thought we were going to be, based on what I saw this season. Going into the off-season game plan, I think Bergevin right now is looking at his staff and saying, guys, I think we have much more work to do than we thought.
Absolutely.
Because we got to move players now. And we're not going to move just any player. We got to move some serious players.
Yeah.
Markov at the end looked like an old man.
Absolutely.
And Markov, you saw it clearly, was not able to keep up with any of the wingers. They came up his side. In fact, he lost generally. He was outskated by one step.
Absolutely. He was outskated almost every time.
In every game.
Yeah.
Right? And in every sequence. And Subban had to save his ass on more than one occasion. On more than one occasion, he had to save his ass. Subban, he tried too hard. And I think
but you got to give him credit.
First, I misinterpreted it as bad attitude, but then
too.
I realized he's just trying. He's over trying.
Yeah.
And and you saw in his eyes that he really wanted to win, right? Gallagher, Galchenyuk, 9 minutes a game. It's the playoffs. He scores a fucking goal for you. This kid at 9 minutes a game scored 9 goals this season with 15 assists, something to that effect. And please don't quote me on this, but it's something to that effect. 24 points, 27 points this season, something to that effect, on 9 minutes of play. Yet you got Deveyadne, who gets 17, 18 minutes, that you just touched him, literally touched him, and he's on his ass. He went into the corners and he got plastered like Peter Pan, or the chip guy, what's it called?
Humpty Dumpty.
Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall and cracked all up, and then they couldn't put him back together again.
Okay, for the record, it's Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall.
Wow.
Humpty Dumpty had a great fall.
And he splattered like shit, right? And you give this guy, and so at the end of the day, you look at this and you're saying, wait a minute, the problem is not just Price over here. I agree. The problem now is, how do you replace Price? Not because he's irreplaceable. There's a lack of talent in goalies right now, and you see it. Look at Pittsburgh. Fleury has been their number one guy. He was
Fleury looked Fleury at the game that I was at, Game 4, looked horrible.
So what do you do? If you're Pittsburgh, you say, do we get rid of Fleury and we go with Vaucoun? Vaucoun last night didn't look any better.
Vaucoun,
he didn't look any better last night.
He's fucking landing the pensione. They're going to give him... But, anyways, tonight...
We can't work this way, Robert. You can't keep on telling us batteries dying.
Tonight, Toronto ties it up against Boston. It's now 3-3. Your take, just one with Boston.
Toronto takes it.
Tomorrow night in Boston.
Toronto takes it.
I think so. Tonight, Detroit, Anaheim.
Detroit
it's 3-3.
It's 3-3. Detroit's winning 1-0. I still say Detroit's going to take the series, and I predicted them to take the series. So I think they're taking the series.
I say Anaheim.
I say Detroit. That's good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And I think the Kings will take the series against St. Louis.
They've already taken it.
Did they take it already?
Yes.
St. Louis got eliminated?
Yes.
So I'm behind the ball on that one. I apologize. Yeah. So I think that, if we're going to look at those two teams, hey, Washington, New York tomorrow night. I think New York is going to take it. Ovechkin has gone scoreless in 3 games unless he comes along with some sort of miracle tomorrow night. And Holtby's playing great, but there's a reason why goaltender's name for New York, please.
Lundqvist.
Lundqvist is Lundqvist. He's a great goalie. And Lundqvist is going to carry this team through tomorrow night. So those are my predictions, and we're pretty much on the same page.
I think I'll go with the Rangers as well. But anyways...
I
think we're running out of time here, Mr.
So we're running out of time as
Diego,
usual.
Thank you very much for...
So it was a pleasure, Joey. It's fantastic.
And folks, WOPTalk.tv, and all our videos are on YouTube. Just type in WOPTalk.
Folks, we didn't put up the last one, but we're going to put it on tonight as well as this one here. Comments are appreciated, and yes, we are looking for the Cougar. All right, you take care of yourselves.
Good night.